Hello, everybody. It's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality again. Once again, I'm coming with another interview. Of course, that's kind of already, you know, understood considering the name of the video. Anyway, without any more delay, here you go. All right, so I'm here with Eli Gardiner. He's one of the musicians in the Minneapolis area that reached out to me about my current interview project. I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hey, my name's Eli Gardiner. I'm a singer-songwriter, originally from the UP of Michigan. I've lived in Minneapolis for a couple years, and I got a new album coming out September 25th called The Fire and the Medicine.
Very cool. So can you kind of go over some of the key moments from like your childhood and then your teenage years that kind of led you into the desire to make music and some of like the linchpin moments that led you down that path?
Right. Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was surrounded by music. My dad was always playing music. He was a classical guitarist, but he always had music on in the house. You know, I remember listening to Saturday Night Gold on the radio. He had that Bruce Springsteen album, Born in the USA. I loved listening to that. You know, growing up, I was listening to Jim Croce, James Taylor. When I got older, I got into more Bob Dylan, Neil Young kind of style of songwriting. But yeah, music has always been a big part of my life. You know, I always wanted to play music, but I never got around to it until really learning how to play until I was in high school. And I started writing poetry and songs, but I had these songs, but I didn't know how to play an instrument. It showed me some chords and kind of let me go on my own, and kind of started that way.
So how long was it between when you like started to learn guitar and started to realize where you could put your words into them and your lyrics? Did you kind of come up with your first song?
Pretty much right away. Like the first chords I learned, I wrote a song with.
Okay.
Because that was really the impetus to learning music and learning, guitar, was to write songs.
Sure.
You have to learn how to move your fingers around the chords and stuff. And so I would learn, cover songs like, Midnight Special, that kind of thing. House of the Rising Sun was the first song I think, learned how to play. And it was helpful because there's a lot of chords in that song.
So would you kind of say having the lyrics and the guitar as the motivation to create the music kind of helped pushed it along a bit further than maybe doing one on alone would have been?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's got to be a push, like a reason you want to play guitar, learn chords, because it can, starting out, it can be pretty hard on your fingers. And I started out on a Yamaha classical guitar, which is a nylon string guitar. So that helps, ease into the process of learning chords. But I think starting out, it's rough. You're not going to sound good,
Right.
And then learning how to play guitar and then sing at the same time is a whole other thing.
Right. So on that note, how was the process going from writing in the beginning to actually moving on stage and starting to perform? Like describe a few of the steps that you took to kind of get into that mode.
Yeah, I mean the first step is just learning songs and being comfortable just playing them, in your bedroom. And then from that point, I had a handful of songs I wanted to share. And so I just started looking up open mics and then learning how to go into these open mics and just learning how to play. And, it's a hard process at first because that's a whole other step, is getting over that stage fright. But,
Sure.
it was something that I just wanted to do and get out there. And, the first few times were hard. I remember going to an open mic, fairly big open mic. It was, around 200 people there to watch. And, it was just something I wanted to do. And I kind of got up there, played 3 songs and got over it. And, but it
Sure.
was, just kind of learning process to that. And then that took a while just to learn how to play on stage. And, I think I'm still learning how to do that.
How did like the reactions from like the other people in the open mic kind of either inspire you or like kind of discourage you? What were those kind of initial reactions?
Yeah, well, I remember playing on stage that first open mic I went to, and it was just a blur. I mean, but the one thing I do remember is, a guy being to the left of the stage, kind
Mhm.
of being into one of the songs, kind of, moving his head along.
Sure.
And that kind of encouragement really went a long way.
Definitely,
Because
definitely.
I'm sure I was not good. I'm sure it was horrible. But
Sure,
it
sure.
was that kind of thing where it's like there's some part of a song that caught on to someone else, outside of playing inside your bedroom that, that helped me, um,
Right, right.
I guess want to keep doing it. Yeah.
So moving on from that launching point into you full-fledged making a record and getting a full band together, describe some of the steps that you took in your methodology to actually bring all of those elements together.
Um, I mean, I think the initial step for me, really taking a while and looking back at it, is just kind of being stubborn with. I wanted to develop my own voice. I want to develop my own music and my own songs,
Hmm.
and because I would play with a lot of different people. Um, when especially in college, you're just kind of learning how to play with different people and kind of how your own music fits in and how people interpret that. But I always had this kind of idea that I wanted to do my own stuff. Like I wanted to write.
Sure.
That was a big thing, wanting to write original stuff. And I did, learn how to play cover songs and stuff too. But
Hmm.
initially, the first stuff I was always playing was my own music.
So once you kind of pinpointed that your original material was what you wanted to focus on, how was your process for kind of going through musicians and picking them out and determining who was going to be best to work with?
I mean, well, the first thing is just like if they want to play music, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, I, I've answered Craigslist ads. I put Craigslist ads out there, or through Facebook and whatever, or even back in the day, MySpace. And um, the, people understand like playing music can mean a lot of different things. That can mean someone that just knows, a Metallica riff.
Hmm.
I remember I had a small basement apartment, and this guy came over who said he was a drummer,
Hmm.
and I played through a full song just with him sitting there looking at me, like didn't come in at all.
Oh,
I
geez.
played through a full song, and he just sat there, and I was like, anytime, man. That type of thing where you just kind of know, like, okay, does this person kind of click with what I'm doing or not?
Right, right.
I mean, that's a whole different process. Is like, what does it mean to be a musician? Well, and I've learned that kind of through trial and error. It can mean a lot of different things for different people.
Sure, sure. So obviously, you kind of had an upfront knowledge that you needed musicians that were okay developing and creating music and not necessarily doing covers. Kind of
Right.
describe some details about when you knew you had found the right people.
Yeah, one of the first people I played with that really clicked was actually a really good friend and still is, my buddy Pete, who was a drummer. And it was just like, it clicks when you start playing a song and they kind of get the vibe of the song, and
Hmm.
you don't really have to describe it too much. You might want to talk about changes a little bit here or there, but where it's just kind of on, and they can kind of just jump in and play.
Sure.
That's just a great feeling, because before that, I always felt like I had to over explain things, or maybe I second guessing myself because people weren't getting it.
Hmm.
And so when something clicks, it just makes everything feel good, and then it really becomes fun to play.
Right, absolutely. And that's a really good way to look at it too. So taking that and then moving your constructed and written material into a full production, into a full recording studio. What was that process like, and how did you guys all kind of flow together once you were actually recording your record?
Yeah. So the guys on my record, I met Nick Salisbury and Dan Schwartz at a songwriter showcase. It's called the Songwriter Showcase, and it used to be at Plums before the pandemic hit. It was on Sunday night,
Hmm.
and they were like part of the host band where songwriters would get up and play songs, and you could have them playing your songs. And
Okay.
so they would play, with like 30 people a night sometimes. It was crazy.
Hmm.
But they also play around town a lot, and they're just amazing musicians. Um, and so I was really enjoyed every Sunday going there and playing with these guys and just seeing what they're coming up with on the spot to my songs. That's how it added to the song.
Sure.
And so through them, through Nick, I met Greg Schutte, who's a drummer and also owns a studio, Bathtub Shrine Recording Studio, here in Minneapolis.
Okay. Sure.
And both those guys play with some really big name people. They've Greg Schutte in Salisbury. They both tour with Ryan Bingham.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
Nick Salisbury has toured with Brian Fallon before and was
Hmm.
set to go on tour again with him before all this stuff happened, before everything was shut down. Um,
Sure.
so yeah, it was really, I was basically just floated the idea. I was like, hey, I'm looking to put an album together. Would you guys be interested?
Hmm.
And they got on board after, sending us some demos, and, they're professionals. They charted everything out and we figured things out, and kind
Awesome.
of had a day where we just went in and played through the songs, and they made their charts and they figured out what we wanted. And then we had 2 days last December where we tracked um, all the rhythm parts, and then we had Dan Schwartz
Hmm.
play play some stuff as well that we kept on the final recordings. So it was a lot of fun. It was also just having your musician brain going, then having
Hmm.
your producer brain going at the same time
Sure.
is absolutely exhausting. So those 2 days were
Right.
very fulfilling, but it was just like totally like I was wiped out
Hmm.
after those 2 days. It was a great thing, and then we did overdubs after that to finish up the record and stuff.
Awesome. Very cool.
Um, but it was just hearing what they can do, what what they would know about a song, what they or what they'd add to the song, just little things like stopping a measure here, or going right in the chorus here, or building it up there.
Hmm.
It just added so much, and Greg um what helped me produce a lot of it, Greg Schutte. So um,
Awesome.
that was a lot of fun to do that.
So, describe for me what one or two of your most memorable moments in your music career is as like a standout moment to you.
It's I mean, just recently, it's just hearing the final mix and the master of this album, and then hearing how it's coming together, so this is really the biggest thing I've done so far in my music career, is
Okay.
just taking the time and the patience to put this group of songs together that I
Hmm.
believe in, and then getting the right players that can present them the best way possible. And
Awesome.
so, when you put an album together, you listen to the songs a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of decisions, little decisions like to keep certain parts in, or bringing the bass up, or whatever.
Hmm.
There's so you listen to the album, you listen to it a lot, and so you kind of get immune to it after a little bit. Um, but going through the mixing process and then the mastering process, and then just being able to hear the songs, how I picture them in my head, how I hear
Hmm.
them in my head, it has been really just an amazing feeling.
Very cool. So, is there any particular concept or message that you think is prevalent in this album that you're putting out that you think should be noticed?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it as a whole, I'm calling it the fire and the medicine. That's what the album is called. There's a lot of bigger picture songs
Hmm.
about what's going on in the world right now. The song "Tattered and Torn" I
Hmm.
wrote in response to the latest election, presidential election, and still
Sure.
applies today.
Of course.
The how we're being just there's all this horrible stuff happening. We have to fight through it, and there's all these obstacles. But by the end of the day, we can even though we're tattered, we can still be flying. And then there's a few songs on it that are very personal.
Hmm.
There's a song called "Eaten Alive" that's about addiction, and how my family's dealt with it, and particularly my brother, how he's gone through
Okay.
addiction and come out the other end. Um, so yeah, it's but the overall theme of it is just we can go through this fire, we can find the medicine, we can find our way through these trials and come out the other side,
Sure.
better.
So that those are all really good messages, and I always like to find a nice like solid mix of some personal stuff in music as well as like big
Right.
picture stuff. So it sounds like your album's on a really good path. Um, so I want to give you the opportunity to put out all of your plugs, and so give me all of your social
Okay.
media and anything that you want anybody to check you out, wherever they can listen to your music. And then I always like to give the person that I interview the last word, so basically just a message that you want to resonate with.
Hmm. Okay, sounds good. I'll think about that. But yeah, my social media is just I'm on Facebook as Eli Gardiner, Gardiner. Instagram as well, um, Twitter as well. You can go to eligardiner.com, and all my information is on there. Um, the second, the first single, "The Right and the Wrong," is out right now on all streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. The second single, "Tattered and Torn," I have a music video out right now on YouTube and my Facebook page, and that comes out on all streaming services July 28th. And the album can be pre-ordered at my Bandcamp page, and that comes out September 25th.
And so, what's something that you want to kind of stick out and be a message that you like?
I think it's a crazy time in the world right now. No one really knows what's going to happen with live music,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there's any argument that music is a very powerful force in the world, and I think you should check out local musicians and see what they're doing, and check out music you haven't heard before, and be open to that because there's a lot of good musicians out there that aren't getting radio play, aren't getting the recognition they might deserve. So yeah, if you like Americana music, you like singer songwriter stuff, maybe check out mine. You might like it.